Jinsu had been exploring the outskirts of the new human colony for days. The landscape was alien, full of sharp rocks and glowing plants that pulsed with light when touched. His mission was simple: map the area and report any unusual activity. But he always had the sense that he was not alone. The wind seemed to whisper, the shadows shifted too quickly, and sometimes he caught movement at the edge of his vision. He adjusted the straps of his backpack and checked the scanner. Nothing unusual, just the empty terrain stretching before him. His boots crunched against the alien soil as he moved forward. In his mind, he reminded himself to stay alert. This planet had strange creatures, some dangerous, some just curious. He had learned that the hard way in his first week here, when a pack of small, glowing predators had tried to circle him in the night. Quick thinking had saved him then, and his heart still beat faster at the memory that Jinsu came across a small canyon that seemed to lead to a hidden area. The scanner picked up faint signs of life, though it was not human. Curious, he decided to investigate. Every explorer knew the rules. Do not interfere with local life unless absolutely necessary. But curiosity, especially the humankind, was hard to contain. He moved carefully, keeping low, scanning the rocks and shadows. Then he saw it. A light glimmered through a thin veil of mist, coming from a small clearing. As he got closer, he realized it was not fire or machine. The glow came from a figure, a woman. She seemed to float in the light, her hair long and shimmering, and she was completely unaware of him. Jinsu froze. He realized, with a shock, that he had stumbled into a private moment. She was bathing in a natural pool formed by the rocks, the water clear and warm. His instincts screamed to leave, but he had moved too close already. He was rooted to the spot, and the sound of a snapping twig under his boot broke the silence. The woman's head shot up, and her eyes, large, fierce, and unblinking, met his. For a moment, time froze. Then, with a speed that surprised him, she drew a blaster from beside her. The weapon hummed with energy, the tip glowing bright. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice sharp and full of authority. Jinsu raised his hands slowly. "I am Jinsu. I mean no harm. I am just exploring." His voice was calm, but he felt sweat prickling on his forehead. The woman's eyes narrowed. "You are not supposed to be here. This is my territory." She moved slightly, keeping the blaster trained on him. Her posture was defensive, ready to fire at the slightest move. Jinsu took a careful step back. "I understand. I did not know. Please, I will leave immediately." She did not lower her weapon. Instead, she studied him. There was a sharp intelligence in her gaze, a sense that she was measuring not only his intent, but his skill, his courage, his very presence. Jinsu realized this was not just a guard or a warrior. She was a protector, someone used to evaluating threats quickly and decisively. "Why are you here?" she asked finally, her voice softer but still wary. "I am mapping the area for the human colony. We are exploring this sector." "I did not know anyone lived here," Jinsu explained, trying to sound both respectful and honest. The woman did not speak for a moment. Then, slowly, she lowered the blaster, though never fully. "I am Hai Jin. This land is protected. Outsiders are not welcome." "I understand, Hai Jin. I will not stay," Jinsu said. He knew words alone would not solve this. Trust had to be earned. "But maybe I can help you. If there is danger, I can fight it." Hai Jin raised an eyebrow. "You think you can fight danger?" Her tone was skeptical, almost amused. "I know humans have survived worse," Jinsu said, with a small, respectful smile. He took another careful step back, keeping his hands visible. "And I know when to run, if needed." She studied him for a long moment and nodded slightly. "You will stay, then?" For now. But one false move, and I will not hesitate. Jin-Soo felt a mix of relief and tension. Staying meant learning more about her, maybe even proving himself. But one wrong step could end badly. He nodded, understood. Over the next hours, Jin-Soo and Hai-Jin moved cautiously around the clearing. He noticed how skilled she was, how every movement was precise, every glance aware of the surroundings. She could have taken him down easily if she wanted, yet she did not. He realized that she was testing him, seeing if he could adapt, survive, and respect her space. Jin-Soo tried to make conversation without offending her. He spoke of the colony, of human life, of what they sought in this region. Hai-Jin answered carefully, revealing only bits of information. Jin-Soo learned that she was not alone. She had companions in hidden areas, and they were guardians of the land. As night fell, Jin-Soo realized that leaving now would be foolish. Hai-Jin had accepted his presence reluctantly, but it was still a tense alliance. They found a small cave where he could rest, away from the main pool. Hai-Jin remained outside, keeping watch. Through the night, Jin-Soo thought about the odd twist of fate that brought him here. A simple misstep, a snap of a twig, and he had found himself under the watch of one of the fiercest warriors he had ever seen. He realized that humans had an advantage: adaptability. Even in strange, dangerous worlds, their cleverness, patience, and courage allowed them to survive. The first light of dawn came, casting soft hues over the alien landscape. Hai-Jin finally relaxed slightly, lowering her weapon fully, though she remained alert. "You survived the night," she said, almost as if surprised. "I did. Thanks to your warning," Jin-Soo replied. "I will leave soon, but I would like to learn from you, if you allow." Hai-Jin considered him. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Perhaps. But know this: respect is earned here, not given lightly. And humans are unpredictable." Jin-Soo smiled, feeling both the weight and the opportunity of the moment. This encounter, strange and uncomfortable as it had been, might become the start of something neither of them expected. For now, they were cautious allies, bound by circumstance and curiosity. But the tension in the air hinted that this was only the beginning. As they moved through the alien terrain together, Jin-Soo kept his senses sharp. He knew that the real challenge lay ahead, not just surviving the land, but understanding the culture, the rituals, and the people he had stumbled upon. Hai-Jin had drawn her blaster once, and he had seen her strength. Now, he needed to prove that humans could stand beside warriors like her, not just as strangers, but as equals. The day stretched before them, bright and full of unknowns. Jin-Soo felt the thrill of exploration, the fear of the unknown, and the budding respect for Hai-Jin, all in one. It was a beginning, a dangerous, exciting, and human beginning. Jin-Soo walked beside Hai-Jin as they left the small cave behind. The morning air was crisp, and the alien forest around them shimmered with soft light. Every plant seemed alive, moving subtly as if breathing, and the ground beneath them occasionally shifted, revealing glowing roots that pulsed with energy. Jin-Soo kept his eyes open, careful not to step on anything dangerous. Hai-Jin moved gracefully, almost as if she were part of the forest. Her every step was deliberate, her gaze scanning the surroundings constantly. Jin-Soo realized he had much to learn from her. Humans relied on machines and tools, but she seemed to rely on instincts, speed, and careful observation. It was impressive, and he respected her deeply. Do humans always wander into places they do not belong? Hai-Jin asked suddenly, her voice calm but carrying a note of curiosity. Not always, Jin-Soo replied, keeping his tone light. But we are explorers. Curiosity is strong in us. Sometimes too strong. He gave a small smile, hoping she would see it as friendly, not cheeky. Jin did not respond immediately. Instead, she studied him, and for a moment, Jinsu thought she might not speak at all. Finally, she said, "Curiosity can be dangerous. On this land, it can get you killed." "I know," Jinsu admitted, "and I am careful. I have survived worse, as I told you before. I can learn quickly." She glanced at him, her eyes sharp. "We shall see." The forest grew denser as they walked. Strange noises echoed around them, some like whispers, some like distant animal calls. Jinsu noticed small glowing creatures darting between the trees. Jin raised a hand, and they stopped immediately. She crouched, her body tense, and motioned for him to follow. Ahead, in a small clearing, a group of creatures appeared. They were large, almost the size of humans, with rough, armored skin and glowing eyes. They did not move aggressively at first, just observed. Jin whispered something in her language, and Jinsu could only guess it was a warning or command. Suddenly, one of the creatures lunged toward them. Jin moved with incredible speed, deflecting it with her blaster. The energy beam struck the creature's armor, and it roared before retreating. Jinsu quickly raised his own weapon, firing a non-lethal stun at another. He was surprised at how well his aim worked, even against something so alien. Jin glanced at him briefly. "You have skill," she said. Her tone carried approval, though it was subtle. "I have learned from humans and their mistakes," Jinsu replied, keeping his focus on the creatures. They continued moving cautiously through the forest, and Jinsu noticed Jin occasionally pausing to study markings on rocks or trees. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "Paths," she said simply. "Safe paths. And signs of danger. Every step can be a trap or a test." Jinsu nodded. He realized that survival on this land was not just about strength or weapons. It was about observation, patience, and respect for the land. Humans had ingenuity, but they often rushed. With Jin, he was learning a different kind of wisdom. After several hours, they reached a small plateau overlooking a valley. The view was breathtaking. Strange plants glowed softly, and in the distance, Jinsu could see structures that looked like homes or shelters built into the cliffs. Jin's eyes softened slightly as she looked over the valley. "This is where my people live," she said. "Few outsiders see this, and fewer survive." "I am honored to see it," Jinsu said honestly, "and I promise to respect your home." Jin studied him, her expression unreadable. Then she nodded and turned away, motioning for him to follow Dot as they descended into the valley. Jinsu noticed more of Jin's people. They were strong, tall, and moved with precision. They carried weapons and tools that Jinsu had never seen before, but their gestures were clear. They were wary of him. He walked slowly, keeping his hands visible and his body relaxed. One of the elders stepped forward, a woman with silver-streaked hair and a long spear. She looked at Jinsu carefully, then at Jin. "Who is this human?" she asked. Jin spoke in her language, and Jinsu could only watch as her people nodded or whispered among themselves. Then the elder turned back to him. "You must prove your worth," she said simply. "I am ready," Jinsu said firmly. He felt a mixture of fear and excitement. This was exactly what he needed to show humans could be respected and trusted, even in alien lands. Jin led him to a small training ground. There were targets and obstacles, and the air was thick with tension. "This is not just training," she said. "It is a test. To survive, you must be clever, fast, and aware. Humans are strong in spirit. Let us see if your spirit matches your words." Jinsu nodded and took his position. The first trial began immediately. Strange mechanical creatures were released, moving unpredictably toward him. Jin-Soo used his human instincts and knowledge of physics to dodge, trick, and disable them. He realized that his small size and flexibility were advantages here. Hai-Jin watched closely, occasionally offering tips in her quiet, precise voice. Jin-Soo learned quickly. By the end of the trial, he had not only survived, but impressed Hai-Jin's people with his ability to adapt. After a short rest, they moved to the next trial. This time, it involved teamwork. Hai-Jin and Jin-Soo had to navigate a dangerous path while avoiding traps and protecting each other. Jin-Soo felt a bond forming with her. They moved almost instinctively, together, covering each other and signaling silently. He realized that respect and trust could grow quickly in moments of real danger. By the end of the day, Jin-Soo was exhausted but exhilarated. Hai-Jin approached him, her expression softening. "You have skill," she said, "and courage. But there is more to learn. You must understand our ways, our rituals, and our rules. Only then will you truly belong here." "I will learn," Jin-Soo said firmly. "I want to understand, and I want to help. If it means surviving here and protecting your people, I will do it." Hai-Jin studied him silently for a long moment, then nodded. "Perhaps humans are not as weak as we believed," she said quietly. "Perhaps there is more to you than your kind shows." Jin-Soo felt a warmth in his chest at her words. Humans had a reputation for being clever and brave, but to hear it acknowledged by someone like Hai-Jin was rare. He knew that the journey ahead would be dangerous, full of tests and unexpected challenges, but he was ready. That night, as they settled near a fire in the valley, Jin-Soo reflected on the day. He had survived his first true trial and earned a small measure of respect. Hai-Jin sat nearby, alert but not hostile, and for the first time, Jin-Soo felt that maybe this strange encounter had a purpose beyond survival. Maybe it was the start of an alliance, a partnership between human ingenuity and alien strength. The stars shone brightly above the valley, and Jin-Soo looked up, feeling a sense of hope. He knew this planet was dangerous, unpredictable, and full of mysteries. But with careful observation, courage, and respect, humans could thrive here. And with Hai-Jin by his side, he felt ready to face whatever came next. The night was quiet, but Jin-Soo knew it was only the beginning. Tomorrow would bring new trials, new lessons, and perhaps new trust. And for the first time, he allowed himself to believe that humans could be more than visitors here. They could be partners, allies, and maybe even something more. The next morning, Jin-Soo woke to the sound of birds or creatures that sounded like birds singing from the glowing trees. The air was cooler than he expected, and the valley seemed calmer in the early light. Hai-Jin was already awake, standing near the edge of the plateau, scanning the horizon. "You move quickly," Jin-Soo said, trying to keep his voice friendly. "Quickness keeps you alive." Hai-Jin replied without turning. "Humans think too much and move too slow. You must learn to act and observe at the same time." Jin-Soo nodded. He had already learned that lesson. Every trial yesterday had shown him that human cleverness alone was not enough. Survival required awareness, timing, and respect for the land. He had to combine instinct with thought, and he was ready to do it. Hai-Jin led him down a narrow path toward the center of the valley. As they walked, Jin-Soo noticed signs of more of her people's small shelters built into the cliffs, gardens with glowing plants, and paths carefully hidden with natural camouflage. Everything was designed to protect and to hide from outsiders who might cause harm. "They live quietly," Jin-Soo said. "You must be proud of your people." "They survive," Hai-Jin said simply. "Pride comes later, after survival. Many outsiders think strength is about power. But here, strength is about endurance and knowledge." They reached a larger clearing where Hai-Jin's people gathered. It looked like a small village, with several huts and open spaces. The elders waited, their eyes sharp, and the children watched curiously from a distance. Jinsu felt the weight of their attention. Humans were often judged by their courage, their skill, and their respect for local rules. Today, he was being tested in another way. Hai Jin turned to him. "There is a ritual you must know," she said. "It is part of our culture. Humans rarely understand it, but if you wish to stay, you must respect it. The shotgun ceremony is not about weapons alone. It is about trust, courage, and the bond between those who survive together." Jinsu tilted his head, curious but cautious. "Bond? Between me and your people?" "Yes," Hai-Jin said. "And between you and me. Humans do not always understand our ways, but you are not like others. Perhaps you can learn." Jinsu felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had faced dangerous creatures and tricky terrain, but understanding alien culture was a different challenge. One wrong move, one word misunderstood, and he could lose the respect he had just earned. Hai-Jin led into a large circle in the center of the clearing. There were symbols carved into the ground, glowing faintly with energy. "This is the beginning," she said. "You will observe first. Learn the meaning before you act." The elders stepped forward, and the ceremony began. Jinsu watched as each participant approached the center, performing specific movements, handling their weapons with care, and showing respect in their gestures. It was precise, almost like a dance, but with serious importance behind each action. Hai-Jin noticed him watching closely and whispered, "Notice the way they hold their weapons, not for attack, but for protection. And notice the order of steps. This is their life, their rules. Learn it." Jinsu nodded. He studied carefully, memorizing each movement, each gesture. He realized that the shotgun ceremony was not simply a ritual. It was a way for Hai-Jin's people to judge character, courage, and respect. It tested whether someone could act correctly under pressure, understand trust, and honor others. When the elders finished their demonstration, Hai-Jin looked at Jinsu. "Now you try. You must perform the steps correctly. One mistake, and it will be seen as disrespect. But if you succeed, it will show you are worthy." Jinsu took a deep breath. He knew that humans were clever and quick, but he had to rely on more than that. Observation, memory, timing, and respect would be just as important as his skills. He stepped into the circle, careful not to rush, letting his eyes follow the gestures of the elders and Hai-Jin. The first movements were simple, yet he felt the weight of their meaning. He lifted his hands, mimicked their stances, and moved in rhythm with their steps. Hai-Jin watched closely, occasionally guiding him with a nod or a small gesture. Then came the more difficult part. He had to handle the ceremonial shotgun, a symbol of protection rather than harm. It was heavier than he expected, and the movements were awkward at first. His human strength helped him balance, but he had to slow down and think, matching the rhythm and gestures he had observed. A slight mistake occurred. He dropped the weapon for a moment. Hai-Jin's eyes narrowed, and he felt panic rise. But he remembered her earlier words. Respect and quick thinking were more important than perfection. He picked it up carefully, adjusted his stance, and continued. The elders watched silently, their expressions unreadable. Jinsu focused, moving step by step, breath by breath. He felt Hai-Jin's presence beside him, not to control, but to guide. Slowly, the steps became smoother, the gestures more precise, and the rhythm in sync with the rest of the ceremony. When he finished, he lowered the shotgun with care, bowing slightly as the elders had done. The silence was heavy, and Jinsu held his breath, waiting for judgment. Then, one elder nodded, a small smile breaking across her face. Another followed. Hai-Jin's eyes softened, and she placed a hand briefly on his shoulder. "You have learned well," she said quietly. Not perfect, but worthy. That is what matters. Respect and effort matter more than skill alone. Jinsu felt relief and pride. He had not only survived, but earned the respect of Haijin's people. The shotgun ceremony was not just a ritual. It was a test of character, and he had passed Dot as the day continued. Jinsu spent time with Haijin and her people, learning more about their culture. He saw how they worked together, how every movement had meaning, and how trust was built through action, not words. He realized that human ingenuity and courage were valued here, but only when combined with respect for others and the land. Haijin led him to a small stream later in the afternoon. "You have done well," she said, "but there is more. You must understand the bond. The shotgun ceremony is a symbol. It shows that humans can be trusted. The trust is not given lightly. It is earned." "I understand," Jinsu said, "and I want to earn it. I want to show that humans can be trusted and respected." Haijin studied him silently for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Perhaps there is hope. Perhaps humans are not as reckless as we believed." The sun began to set, painting the valley in soft colors. Jinsu and Haijin returned to the small camp where they had spent the night. The fire was warm, the valley quiet, and Jinsu felt a sense of accomplishment. He had faced a trial unlike any other, learned the rules of an alien culture, and earned a measure of respect. That night, Jinsu thought about the challenges ahead. There would be more trials, more lessons, and more opportunities to prove himself. But he was ready. Humans survived because they adapted, because they thought quickly, and because they cared for others. Here, on this alien world, he could use all of those traits to not only survive, but to earn trust, respect, and perhaps even friendship. Haijin watched him from a short distance, her expression softening. She had seen courage before, but human courage was different. It was clever, patient, and persistent. She realized that Jinsu was not just a visitor. He could be something more. The stars shone above the valley, and Jinsu looked up, thinking of the humans back on the colony, of the strange world he was exploring, and of Haijin beside him. He knew that the journey ahead would be difficult, full of tests and dangers, but he was ready. Humans had survived worse, and he would prove that humans could thrive here, even in a land that was strange and dangerous. The night was calm, but Jinsu felt a spark of excitement. He had taken the first real step into Haijin's world and had survived. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new challenges, and perhaps new trust. And for the first time, he allowed himself to hope that humans could not only survive on this world, but become valued. Respected partners to its guardians, Jinsu woke to the soft glow of the alien sun peeking over the cliffs. The valley was quiet, except for the faint sounds of life, a distant roar, the hum of glowing plants, and the rustle of creatures moving unseen. Haijin was already awake, standing near the fire, her eyes scanning the horizon. Jinsu felt a sense of calm. He was no longer just a stranger. He had earned a small measure of trust, and that was important. Haijin turned to him. "Today, you will face the trial of the path," she said. "It is not just about survival. It is about trust, teamwork, and understanding. You must prove you can move with others, protect, and adapt." Jinsu nodded. He felt the familiar mix of excitement and nerves. Every trial so far had tested his body and mind, but this one seemed different. It was not only about skill, it was about forming a bond. And he understood that this bond might change everything. They set out into the dense forest, following a hidden path that twisted and turned between towering trees and glowing rocks. Haijin moved silently, her eyes sharp, and Jinsu followed closely. He had learned to move with caution, to observe before acting, and to respect the land. The first challenge appeared suddenly. A wide chasm blocked their path, the bottom dark and full of shadows. A narrow natural bridge stretched across, but it was slippery and unstable. Hai-Jin motioned for Jin-Su to step carefully. "You must trust yourself and your companion," she said. Jin-Su took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge. His boots slipped slightly, and he steadied himself with his arms. Hai-Jin followed behind, her movements precise and deliberate. Jin-Su realized that he could not rush. He had to move with awareness and timing. Step by step he crossed, feeling the tension in his muscles and the pounding of his heart. When he reached the other side, Hai-Jin gave a small nod of approval. "Good," she said. "You learned quickly." They continued along the path, and soon another challenge appeared. This time it was a group of hostile creatures, similar to the ones they had encountered before, but larger and more aggressive. Hai-Jin raised her blaster, signaling Jin-Su to do the same. "Move together," she instructed. "Protect each other. Every action matters." Jin-Su felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. He remembered the lessons from the previous trials: observation, speed, cleverness, and trust. He mirrored Hai-Jin's movements, covering her while she dispatched the creatures with precision. He used his own skills to create diversions, mislead the creatures, and protect both of them. The creatures retreated after a tense confrontation, and Jin-Su realized that their bond was strengthening. They no longer needed words for every move. Their understanding was becoming instinctive. Hai-Jin led him deeper into the forest, where the terrain grew more difficult. Sharp rocks, glowing vines, and sudden drops tested their endurance. Jin-Su relied on his human adaptability, using tools and quick thinking to navigate the hazards. Hai-Jin observed silently, offering guidance only when necessary. Eventually, they reached a plateau with a small, hidden lake. The water shimmered with a soft blue light, reflecting the sky above. Hai-Jin gestured for Jin-Su to sit beside her. "This is a place of reflection," she said. "A warrior's trial is not only physical. It is also mental and emotional. You must understand the bond you have formed and the respect you have earned." Jin-Su nodded, taking in the serene beauty. He thought about the journey so far, the misstep that brought him here, the battles, the lessons, and the growing respect between him and Hai-Jin. He realized that survival was not just about strength or skill. It was about understanding, trust, and the courage to face the unknown. Hai-Jin watched him silently. After a moment, she spoke again. "You have learned much. You have shown courage, cleverness, and respect. But there is one final part of the trial. You must face it together." Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. From the forest emerged a massive creature, taller than any Jin-Su had seen before, with armored skin and glowing eyes. It roared, and the sound shook the trees. Hai-Jin raised her blaster, but this time she did not act alone. She turned to Jin-Su. "We fight together," she said. Jin-Su's heart pounded, but he nodded. He understood that this was the ultimate test, not just of skill, but of their bond. They moved as a team, anticipating each other's actions. Hai-Jin attacked with precision, while Jin-Su used his human ingenuity to distract and trap the creature. Together, they managed to corner it, using the environment to their advantage. Finally, the creature fell, subdued but unharmed, proving that their teamwork was effective. Hai-Jin lowered her weapon, and Jin-Su did the same. They exchanged a look of mutual respect and understanding. "You have passed the trial of the path," Hai-Jin said quietly. "You have proven that humans can be trusted, that you can act with courage and intelligence, and that you can form a bond. This is rare among outsiders." Jin-Su felt a mix of relief and pride. He had not only survived, but had earned a place of respect among Hai-Jin's people. He realized that humans could achieve more than expected, even in alien lands. if they combined cleverness with trust and respect. As they walked back to the valley, Jin-Soo noticed small changes in the way Hai-Jin's people looked at him. There was less suspicion, more curiosity, and a subtle acknowledgement of his bravery. He knew that the final steps of their journey were approaching. That evening, Hai-Jin led him to a small ceremonial site, a circle of stones that glowed faintly under the stars. "Tomorrow, the shotgun ceremony will be held," she said. "You will be formally recognized as one who can be trusted. But remember, this is not just about skill or courage. It is about the bond, the respect, and the willingness to act for others. Are you ready?" Jin-Soo looked around at the quiet valley, the glowing stones, and the vast sky above. He felt the weight of the moment. This was more than a ceremony. It was a chance to prove that humans could be valued partners, not just visitors or intruders. He nodded firmly. "I am ready," he said. Hai-Jin studied him silently for a long moment. Then she nodded, a small smile breaking across her face. "Very well. Tomorrow, you will show your worth not only to me, but to all who watch. Remember what you have learned. Trust, respect, and courage. That is what matters most." As the night grew deeper, Jin-Soo sat near the fire, thinking about the journey so far. He had faced danger, learned the customs of a new culture, and begun to form a bond with one of the most skilled warriors he had ever met. He realized that humans were not only capable of survival, but could earn trust and respect, even in a world that was completely foreign. Hai-Jin watched him from a short distance, her expression thoughtful. She had seen many outsiders, but few had the patience, courage, and respect that Jin-Soo had shown. He was different. Perhaps he was more than a visitor. Perhaps he could become a partner, someone worthy of standing beside her and her people. The stars shone brightly above, and Jin-Soo looked up, feeling a sense of hope and anticipation. Tomorrow would bring the shotgun ceremony, a moment that could change everything. He knew that humans had survived countless challenges, and here, on this alien world, they had the chance to prove themselves once again. The night was quiet, but Jin-Soo felt the excitement building. The trials had tested his body and mind, and tomorrow would test his spirit and his bond with Hai-Jin. He was ready. Humans had survived against the odds before, and now he would show that they could thrive, earn respect, and form connections even in the most alien of lands. The valley was quiet under the soft glow of dawn. Jin-Soo and Hai-Jin stood together at the ceremonial circle, the glowing stones casting light on their faces. Today was the shotgun ceremony, the moment when trust, courage, and bonds would be tested and recognized. Jin-Soo felt a mix of nervousness and determination. He had trained, survived, and proven himself, but now it was time to show that he was ready to be accepted fully. Hai-Jin's people gathered around, forming a circle. The elders' eyes were sharp, observing every movement, every breath. The younger warriors watched closely, their faces curious and serious. Jin-Soo felt the weight of their gaze, but he held his head high. He had learned much about this world, and now he would demonstrate that humans were not only capable of surviving, but could be trusted and respected. Hai-Jin stepped beside him. "Remember," she said softly, "this is about respect, courage, and understanding. Show them what you have learned." Jin-Soo nodded. He adjusted his stance and picked up the ceremonial shotgun, feeling the weight in his hands. Unlike a weapon for battle, this was a symbol. It represented protection, loyalty, and partnership. He understood now that the ceremony was not about fighting. It was about proving character. The elders began the ritual with slow, deliberate movements. Jin-Soo watched carefully, replicating their gestures and steps. He moved in rhythm with the others, lifting the shotgun, holding it with care, and lowering it with respect. Every step mattered. A single misstep could signal disrespect, but he focused on precision, calmness, and awareness. Jin moved beside him, guiding him with subtle gestures. They had developed a silent understanding over the past days, and their movements were in sync. Jin-Su felt a sense of connection, not just to Jin, but to her people, to the land, and to the meaning behind each gesture. The ceremony progressed to the more difficult part. Jin-Su had to navigate a path with obstacles while carrying the shotgun, symbolizing the responsibility of protecting the community. He moved carefully, stepping over glowing roots and around sharp rocks. Jin watched and guided, but he relied on his own instincts and the lessons he had learned. A sudden noise came from the forest. A large creature emerged, blocking their path. The elders remained calm, observing how Jin-Su would respond. Jin raised her blaster, ready to act, but Jin-Su stepped forward first. He remembered all the trials, all the lessons about strategy, observation, and clever thinking. Instead of attacking, he used the terrain to his advantage. He guided the creature with small movements, careful sounds, and precise timing, leading it away from the ceremonial path. The creature eventually retreated, and the elders nodded in approval. Jin glanced at him with a small smile, and Jin-Su felt a rush of pride. They continued through the path and finally reached the center of the circle. Jin-Su placed the shotgun carefully on the ground and knelt, bowing in respect. Jin did the same, and together they awaited the judgment of the elders. For a long moment, the valley was silent. Jin-Su held his breath, knowing that this moment could define his place among Jin's people. Then one elder stepped forward, raising a hand in a gesture of acknowledgement. The others followed, nodding slowly. Jin-Su had passed. Jin stood and faced him. "You have proven yourself," she said, her voice steady and clear. "Not because of strength alone, but because of courage, cleverness, and respect. You are worthy." Jin-Su felt relief and joy. He had not only survived the trials, but he had also earned the trust of Jin and her people. He realized that humans could do more than adapt. They could inspire, respect even in worlds far from their own. The ceremony continued with ritual gestures and blessings. Jin-Su participated fully, moving carefully, aware of every step, every bow, every gesture. The elders observed, satisfied with his conduct. And Jin stood beside him, her presence both protective and approving. When the final gesture was made, Jin placed her hand lightly on Jin-Su's shoulder. "From this day, you are more than a visitor," she said quietly. "You are recognized, and you are part of our community." Jin-Su felt a warmth in his chest. This recognition was more than honor. It was trust, and it was acceptance. He had entered a strange world as a stranger, and now he was seen as an ally, a partner, and someone who could be relied upon. The younger warriors approached him, their faces curious but friendly. Jin-Su bowed to each of them, showing respect. Some nodded in return, others offered small gestures of friendship. He realized that bonds could be built quickly when courage, respect, and understanding were shown. Jin led him to the edge of the ceremonial circle. "You have done well," she said. "But remember, respect must be maintained, and trust must be honored. You are now part of something larger than yourself." "I understand," Jin-Su said, "and I will honor it. I promise." The elders began to disperse, satisfied with the completion of the ceremony. The valley seemed calmer now, almost peaceful, as if the land itself acknowledged Jin-Su's acceptance. Jin looked around at her people, and Jin-Su noticed a subtle change. The suspicion and distance were gone, replaced by cautious trust. As they walked back toward the small village, Jin-Su reflected on the journey. He had entered this world by accident, stumbled into danger, and faced trials that tested his body, mind, and spirit. But he had learned, adapted, and respected the culture he had found. Humans had survived in countless harsh worlds because of their cleverness, courage, and persistence. Now, he had shown that even in the most alien of lands, humans could earn trust and respect. Haijin walked beside him, her movements calm and steady. For the first time, she spoke softly, almost personally. "You surprised me. I did not think humans could adapt so well. You are not reckless. You are patient, clever, and strong in ways that matter." Jinsu smiled, feeling the connection between them. "I learned from you. Your people, this land? I had to understand before I could act. And I wanted to show that humans can be more than visitors. We can be allies." Haijin's eyes softened. "Perhaps you can. Perhaps there is more to humans than we believed." The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows over the valley. Jinsu felt a sense of peace. He had faced danger, learned lessons, and now was recognized not just for his skill, but for his character. The shotgun ceremony was more than a ritual. It was proof that bonds could be formed between species, that humans could earn respect, and that courage and cleverness mattered everywhere. That evening, as the valley quieted and the glowing plants shimmered softly, Jinsu and Haijin sat together near the fire. He thought about the journey, the trials, and the trust he had earned. Haijin's presence beside him was a reminder that respect and bonds could bridge worlds. "You have done well," Haijin said again. "But there is still more to learn. Life here is not easy, and challenges will continue. But today, you proved that humans can be trusted and valued." Jinsu nodded. "I understand, and I will continue to prove it. Not just for you, but for your people, and for myself." Haijin looked at him, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she smiled slightly, a rare and genuine gesture. "Perhaps this is the beginning of something new," she said quietly. Jinsu felt hope and excitement. This strange alien world had tested him, pushed him to his limits, and challenged everything he knew. But he had survived, adapted, and earned respect. Humans were capable of more than survival. They could build trust, form bonds, and become part of something greater. The stars shone above, and the valley seemed alive with quiet energy. Jinsu realized that this was only the beginning. He had entered a world full of mystery, danger, and wonder, and he had shown that humans could not only survive, but thrive. Haijin's hand brushed lightly against his. It was a small gesture, but it carried weight. Trust had been formed, and the bond between them was real. Jinsu knew that the shotgun ceremony was only the start of a larger journey. Together, they would face whatever challenges came next. For now, though, he allowed himself to feel pride, relief, and a quiet joy. He had been accepted, respected, and trusted. Humans had survived once again, not through strength alone, but through courage, cleverness, and the willingness to understand and respect others. And in this alien world, Jinsu had proven that humans could indeed earn their place among the strongest and the wisest. The night deepened, the fire burned low, and Jinsu looked at Haijin. The adventure was far from over, but for the first time, he felt that he truly belonged.